Okay, come on. Gonna show anything here? Your studio. Crossing my fingers. Alright, we're back. Alright. Alright, so apologize for that. Let's hope the connection stays stable. I restarted my router. But yeah, so, okay, we were talking about Unrecord. Just so I can show this to you again here. This is what we're talking about. This game on Steam, which is a legit game. It's real. Being developed in Unreal Engine 5. And where we left off was, you know, I don't know if if you saw this part, but the controversy of this game. It's body cam footage. I mean, it's built around body cam footage, which has some clearly negative connotations depending on your perspective, and you know, especially given what we've seen in the in media and everything with violence performed by police officers and recorded body cam footage of that. And the whole point of body cam footage is to help hold police officers accountable for overt violent acts and things like that. And this could be traumatizing to some. This could be one of those things where this is too real. I can't play this. I can't actually interact with this because it brings about anxiety, especially people who have been targeted by police violence, or people who have negative experiences with police in general. Something like this could be very traumatizing. Also, hyper-realistic games have more potential for triggering things like PTSD in general, or just being too real to be able to use as escapism. And so, you know, one of the things I think we'll probably end up seeing with games like Unrecord is it may lose a bit of the player base because it's too realistic. It's too much for them. And, you know, we saw this with Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice and how it portrayed mental illness. And it was incredibly, like, oh my god, holy shit. Like, that's how impactful it was. And a lot of people commented on it. They appreciated how it was portrayed, but there are people who are like, no, this is too much like what I actually experience. I can't play this. And I think we're going to keep going further with that the more realistic we make our games. And then the other fun negative issue, I say fun sarcastically, is that, you know, we've had problems. Actually, I just realized how ironic it is. I'm wearing a Cam FDM t-shirt right now. Those of you who are a little older like me probably get the significance when I mention what I'm about to mention, about how video games are regularly blamed for inciting people to commit violent acts. Especially, they call them, you know, violent simulators. They train people to kill. And, you know, games like, you know, the Columbine shooting is not fantastic, is a perfect example of this. But it's, you know, what is too real? And that is the question we have to ask ourselves. I myself, I feel comfortable saying that I would probably play Unrecord, but one of the things I may end up doing is if I do, I'm going to start utilizing content warnings for things like this, because there is a real possibility that it may be too much for some gamers to handle. And I want to make sure Ghost Gamer News content is accessible to a variety of players. And so I have to be cognizant of that as someone who runs a small media website. But with that, let's get on to something a little more lighthearted. Let's talk about PC port failures. Now, it's not a game I would ordinarily cover. Star Wars Jedi Survivor has come out, and it was not, it was a simultaneous release with PC and console. But it's super jank. It is a horrible port. Digital Foundry did an amazing video discussing it, and you should absolutely check that out. Although I think they honestly did not really go deep enough into it, which is saying something, because they do very detailed deep dives, like I do with my deep dive guides on stealth mechanics or shooting mechanics in video games. They do the same thing for analyzing performance and quality of game, technical visual quality of games. They do an amazing job. You should definitely check out the video if you're at all curious. We had The Last of Us Part 1, which, just to reiterate, I have no plans to review. Period, full stop. I have no plans to review it. I tried, but I got tired of fighting the jank and just said, you know what? There is no point in me going on with this. And I am a small indie publisher, and I can choose, I don't rely on GGN for my living. And I spent my own money on the game. So I chose to not review it. I chose to refund it because it was such a poor port. And you're seeing this more and more and more as time goes on. It is an extremely common issue where developers will release a game nowadays that is not finished, that is riddled with bugs. Now, some of this can be understandable because of the wide disparity in hardware on PCs in general. But you also have these issues on console. You look at the release of Cyberpunk 2077. When that was released, it wasn't just jank on PC. It was janky on consoles, especially PS4. It literally had to get pulled from the PS4 shop because its performance was atrocious. It was not what it should have been. And developers are releasing these games in these states because they know, number one, they need the money. Number two, they need, they feel like, well, I can just patch it after the fact. I'll collect valuable user data with release. And you're getting around, and this is something we'll talk about a little bit later, actually, too. In this, you're getting around the whole needing to pay for adequate testing and having testers on staff and having the hardware for testers to use by half-assing testing during development, releasing it, and patching it after the fact, using the data they collect, because they do collect data. It's usually opt-in, so keep that in mind. It is at least typically an opt-in thing. Legally, it's supposed to be in most cases, from what I remember, although I'm a gamer, not a lawyer. So, yeah, it's way too common of an issue. And, speaking of jank and bypassing testing, let's talk about a game that is nothing but testing. Let's talk about Star Citizen. This is a headline game that we're going to talk about today. We have 3.18.12 out now. That's the version that's currently out. 3.18 was a rough release. The 0.0 releases are always rough with Star Citizen, and they unveiled some new heavy server tech. It's not... It was not a small thing. 0.1 was a little better in some ways. But 0.2 so far is pretty good. Now, it annoyed me because they did a partial wipe for 0.2 instead of a full wipe, because I had just spent all the bulk of my money upgrading parts for my ship. And then they did a partial wipe, which wiped my ship and equipment on the ship, but didn't reset my money and stuff like that. Now, ranking is fine. I really hadn't gotten that far. Hey there, Ron. Welcome to the stream. And so I hadn't gotten that far in the game yet to really worry about my ranking, but the money thing annoyed me. But it's okay. I was able to grind it up. You know, it's a little hard doing some of the lighter bounties with the Vanguard Harbinger just because it's a bomber and you're not making much on the lower tier bounties. But there are some interesting bugs that have happened in 0.2. I tell you what, number one tip I have for folks playing Star Citizen 0.2, remember the key I am fantastic, Ron. Remember the key binding, Alt-N. Alt-N is super useful. I keep forgetting it. Alt-N allows you to comm for a docking request. I actually have a Quirks of the Verse video I will hopefully crank out sometime. I just, I've been so busy. I haven't even gamed it hardly at all this week. Like, I haven't even loaded up any games this week. Maybe a little bit of Star Citizen Monday, did I do? No, maybe I didn't. I can't remember now. No, I didn't. I didn't game at all Monday, even. But yeah, Alt-N, because doing the comms through the Moby Glass does not seem to actually let you get docking requests in. But other than that, and some invisible walls, which are hilarious, and stuff like that, I've been enjoying, 0.2 is a lot better. It also looks like they finally fixed the restocking bug, which drove me crazy as someone who flies a bomber. Because it could be darn near impossible to restock, especially with persistent entity streaming and all the server changes that went on with that, with managing the state of everything on the server, which includes your ship. A trick I used to use before 3.18 was, if I couldn't restock, I would take another ship, a cheap ship that I had, fly out to another station, and file an insurance claim on my main ship. And then go from there. Like, and I would pay to have it rushed, of course, while I ran around that station, did whatever random stuff I did to kill time until my ship was ready and fly it back. That's how I would restock. With 3.18, you couldn't do that anymore, because when you filed your insurance claim, you would get it in literally the exact state you had it when you docked. Now, what you can still do, assuming you do not dock, you do not land in a broken state, but I don't think this is necessary anymore because the restock bug does seem to be fixed, although it's a little quirky, is you can suicide in your ship. Basically blow up your ship. You don't want to directly suicide, I don't think, your character. I think you want to crash your ship and blow it up. That's what you want to do. But that's not a great solution. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it unless you still have the restocking bug. But here's the thing about the restocking bug. You will still see issues with it deducting the money but not always showing that you restocked. I get out of my ship, go do my stuff, come back. Every time I've come back, my missiles and torpedoes and everything has been restocked. Even though it still says I could restock after I hit that restock button, and it will charge me again if I hit that button again. I actually did get restocked. I just have to get out and get back in. So there's that. There's also a fun bug, a griefing technique that has come about now. You can use your little handheld tractor beam thing, your multi-tool with a tractor beam attachment, inside stations and, armistice zones where you're not supposed to be able to pull out weapons. And you can pull out ship item inventory, like a gigantic cannon, like a size 5 cannon that might be on a Vanguard Harbinger, and carry it around with your tractor beam attachment multi-tool and smack people with it and kill them. It's fascinating to watch. And of course, you don't even have to do that. You can grab the carts, the medical carts that are around. A classic method was to push a gurney around into people. I've even had people injure me by running into me while I was at the SOP terminals. Now, I'm not seeing this being exploited too much, so it's safe, But you're probably going to see a few giggles here and there. This is the fun of Star Citizen, which brings us to the next point I wanted to talk about with Star Citizen is a new video by Goat. I only recently subscribed to him. I found out about him from his Escape from Tarkov cheating video, which was fantastic. His expose was brilliant. I personally liked Escape from Tarkov itself, but I'm not a multiplayer person. So, but I was using SP Tarkov, which is a mod, which is not supported by Battlestate games. Battlestate will probably, if Battlestate cared about someone like me and knew what my account was, they would probably shut me down. And even though I paid for the game, just because of this. For whatever reason, they are very strictly controlling of this stuff, but they aren't really putting forth enough effort on the cheating aspect. Granted, it is an early access game. It's another one that's very early access. But Goat, and it's amusing. Goat did something on Star Citizen about. He basically paints it in the light of Star Citizen is not as great as some people make it out to be, and I honestly agree with him. This may sound weird coming from someone who promotes the game, but you will also notice that I promote it with a lot of asterisks in the corner, a lot of caveats. It's very much a alpha game. It's buggy, and if you don't have patience for this type of thing, then it's not the game for you. You should absolutely not at all touch it. But I still enjoy it, and there's lots of people who do. But then there's also the issue. One of the things he points out, there's a lot of people who have a certain problem with addiction. We see this a lot with microtransactions. Star Citizen does the same, except it's not microtransactions, it's macrotransactions. You can spend thousands of dollars in Star Citizen, on a single purchase, a single ship that you can't even fly yet. And there's even questions about some of these ships that are promoted. You can't actually fully crew them, even if they were in the game yet, because of the server player limitations. These are ships they're designed to have. There are ships that are designed to have 100+ people on them, and they're not in the game yet. So once again, keep that in mind. But some of these larger ships are just not practical, even the ones that are coming, or the Hammerhead, not super practical. You can maybe get one person who owns a Hammerhead on the server and get crewed, and then you've got everyone else who can play on the server. That sort of thing. And that's reasonable, but that's it. You can't have multiple people playing Hammerheads effectively, typically. But yeah, his criticism is really valid, and I encourage you to check him out. Goat. You know what? Let me a sec here. Star Citizen. His channel is. Come on, where is it? Let's see here. Give me a sec to search for it here. Yeah, I think. Yeah, it's G0AT Goat. And the title is, should you buy... Here, let me switch to so you can see it. It's this one. Should you buy early access titles? Really good, really accurate, and you know, he does a little bit of comparison to what is it? Starfield. That's what it is. But he also does, towards the end, have a caveat that, you know, these are two different games, two different goals. And he talks about scope creep. He talks about how Chris Roberts has said, you know, Star Citizen may never be finished, truly. And, you know, for some of us, that's okay. You know, I'm okay with that. And as long as the game has enough playable time for me, I will be happy. And I will be, you know, feel like the money I have spent, which I have spent a decent amount. I try to upgrade during sales and things like that. But I'm pretty much done spending real money at this point because I have my favorite ship. You know, and the only reason I even upgrade to it is because it saves me time getting back into the game. As someone who is covering the game now on a relatively regular basis, I want to be able to get into my usual gameplay loop faster. And so that's why I spent the money I did upgrading to the Vanguard Harbinger. So yeah, that's kind of how it goes. And for me, it's worthwhile. For other people, it may not be, and I absolutely understand that. Which, before we get into the next topic, let's do a quick promo here. You know, this is my first a news stream. Usually when I'm streaming, I'm doing games and stuff like that. But don't forget to check out ghostgamer.news, the website that I run. Some of you may be new checking this out because I'm covering something you're interested in. Maybe you get linked to it after the fact. I don't know. But yeah, check out ghostgamer.news. I have a lot of articles, guides, and more. And it's a labor of love for me. It's my side hustle. And I do have ads, but I have very limited ads. It's not crazy. If you don't mind, disable your ad tracker when you visit the site. I'm not going to force you. I understand some of you may not. Yeah, so it's Google AdSense, so some of the ads are kind of shitty, and I try and stop those as much as I can, but it's putting out a fire with a garden hose, basically. A house fire with a garden hose. You're not going to get all of them. There's just no way. And, you know, I say don't disable ads, because right now, ad revenue, I cover hosting. I make enough to cover hosting for ghostgamer.news. That's where we're at. And I'm okay with that. But I would love for it to cover also ammo costs. You know, this is last price. This I bought 8 of these. This is right now my favorite 22 LR ammo in my precision rimfire build. I get pretty good groups with Ely Target, and this is the cheaper ammo, and this is about 12 cents a round right here when I purchased it. That's not bad. That's not a bad price for good quality ammo. But I would like to test other ammos, and with your donation today, you can help me get more ammo. And yeah, so range strips are expensive. It costs money, you know. There's the range fee, there's transportation, there's ammo costs, there's cleaning supplies and maintenance time and target setup. Just help me out. And if you don't like ads, no problem. Check out, like maybe you're listening to the music in the background here. You're like, oh, that's kind of cool. That's my old stuff that you're hearing, for the most part. My old, actually, no, pretty much entirely. It's my old music. I have music up and artwork and everything else up for sale on the website painpropaganda.com. Painpropaganda.com. I just published a new video art piece, actually. And so, you know, check that out. And if nothing else, like and sub here. Come on, folks. Help support indie content creators like me. All right. With that plug out of the way, it was a little long. I should have written a plug so I could get through it quicker, but oh well. Dead air. Thirsty. 5 hours later. All right. Now, we were just talking about Star Citizen and how some people kind of see it as a scam. Something else people tend to see as a scam is pre-ordering. This is not going to be a hot take here. Okay. I'm not really a hot take person for the most part. Pre-ordering, it's all about, is it worth it to you? Now, if I were to pre-order something, I would do it because it provides certain perks. And the perks have to be worth it to me in most cases. A big one right now is preloading. Like, if you're on a bad internet connection, a slower internet connection, preloading can be worth it to you if you want to play really quick. If you know you're going to play the game, it's not a bad reason to pre-order. I personally like to pre-order from smaller studios, specifically because I like to give them that guaranteed scratch as early as possible. Support them, help them feel, continue development. They tend to value a person's pre-order more than the big studios do. Big studios, it's all about, give me money now, okay? That's why we've got Ubisoft, loading all their games with microtransactions and having crappy half-assed DLC and releasing unfinished games and homogenizing, trying to reach, more gamers with single games so they can get the biggest number of sales, and making essentially boring games that are all the same because they're very formulaic. That's just the way Ubisoft has gone now. So smaller publishers and developers tend to appreciate those pre-orders more. So I like pre-ordering those. I continue to encourage folks to pre-order the new Stalker game that's coming up, Stalker 2. We have no idea when it's going to come out. But the developers, based out of the Ukraine, could use that money. I mean, really, they need that support. They aren't, they're relatively decent size, but they're not huge. And a number of the people on their team are even fighting in the war, and I believe they've even lost people in their war with Russia. Russia's invasion has really hit Ukraine hard, including the developers, but they are still working on the game. That's the crazy part. They are still working on it. In a country savaged by war, they are creating one of the most highly anticipated games out there, and I firmly believe we should support them, regardless of what the bonuses might even be. I don't even care what the bonuses are for pre-ordering. Like, I want to support them. Now, then we come to the discussion of things like early access, which, there's a number of benefits with early access. Usually it's a lower price, not always, but usually when you buy a game in early access, you're paying less than you would pay full retail. It's a great way to help smaller developers test the game and give them feedback and help them develop the game and make a better game overall. And you get to play games sooner that have cool concepts that you like. But then some people might consider it, I'm paying to play test your game and things like that. And I get that perspective. I absolutely understand that. It's perfectly understandable. You may not want to deal with the bugs and everything else that goes on with it. I myself, I'm a developer. I have actually worked in the game industry, indie, very much indie. It was a long ass time ago. Worked in the game industry before. I did level design, texture design, and audio design. I did a tiny bit of programming back then, but now I work as a web developer. And so, we do lots of testing. and we test on a lot of different joys of web development. We don't have to test on as much hardware as gaming developers do, but we do have to test on a bunch of devices. You know, I've got this iPhone here that I use solely for development testing. That's all this iPhone is here for. I utilize Browser Stack for browser testing, and I've got an Android phone here that's my daily driver phone. I've got a Linux machine over here that's behind me, and then I've got my Windows machine here that I'm streaming from. Multiple browsers on both. There's a lot of work that goes into testing, and I can't catch everything in every use case, especially with the browser extensions that break things, or people running older versions of browsers. Any number of issues, and with game development it's so much worse. So I actually understand smaller indie developers wanting to utilize that resource, and I support it. And so I, as a developer, I'm willing to go through that headache. That's why I love, you know, one of the games I'm going to talk about in up next, the current playlist. It's an early access game that I am thoroughly enjoying, beyond Star Citizen. Star Citizen I'm enjoying too, and I have filed bug reports. I and things like that. I actually check their issues council at least once a week, and help promote bugs to get reported that I've seen that I'm able to replicate when possible, when I have time. Like this week, I haven't gotten on at all because I haven't had time to play. But it's all about assisting in development, and as a developer, I like to help out my fellow developers. So, you know what? Ultimately, though, with pre-orders, early access, like I said, this isn't a hot take. It's up to you. Do you see the value in it? Are the perks you get for pre-ordering worth it? Do you want to support the developer a little earlier than normal? Say, hey, I know you're coming out with this. Here's a little scratch to help keep you going. That's what it's about. So, all right, I am actually moving a lot faster than I expected. Next up, what am I currently playing? Obviously, Star Citizen is my major game, my big one that I play. And this is the one that's become a cornerstone game for Ghost Gamer News, where I'm producing guides for it. Another one. This is the one I was talking about. Surround Dead. I love this game so much. And here's the thing. I'm not playing it all the time. Like, I'll let the developer add some new stuff and then come back and play for a bunch of hours. It is such a fantastic game. In fact, here, how many hours do I have in it now? It's not even a big game, but I have almost 30 hours in the game right now. And it's just so fun. It's a nice survival light game that really is fantastic. It's super fun. And yeah, it's got bugs, but not that many. And I talk about this game a lot. I've mentioned it multiple times on Ghost Gamer News, the website, but it's a one-man development powerhouse game that is fun, is legitimately fun, and I enjoy it, and I hope you will check it out. Surround Dead, DEAD. So, yeah. Another one, this one I love the idea of. And I've played it a little bit, but I just haven't had the time to sink into it yet. It's called War Tales. This is one that was early access, but it recently hit version 1.0, so it's out of early access now. And it's a overhead turn-based tactical game. It's kind of a little bit like Mount and Blade, if you've played that, except it's turn-based tactical. And without the large armies. It's gotten a lot of praise, and after playing it a little bit, I can see why. It's not perfect. It's a smaller title, It's not anything big, major release, but it's fun, what I've been able to play. time-wise, and I hope to put some time into it and actually do a review, but I may not have time because we're coming up in the upcoming games list now of the stream. And so let me show you. Here's what we're going to be covering. What I hope to cover this coming month here. Next week we've got Redfall coming out. Redfall, I wasn't sure if it was going to be solo playable, but it looks interesting, and it is. The developers have confirmed it is very much a game that a solo gamer can play, and there's stealth mechanics. It's by the same people, Arcane, published by Bethesda, but it's developed by Arcane. They did Dishonored series, which I love. Dishonored. I played the first one like crazy. I loved it. But Redfall looks good, and it's got a similar look and feel. Now, comparison, what was that other game they did recently? Not that recently, but you know what? I can't remember what it was, but it was a Deathloop. That's what it was called, Deathloop. I did not care for Deathloop, but it was more so the core mechanics of that one did not really interest me. But oh, this is interesting. This says it comes May 1st, but previously it was supposed to be May 2nd, so they bumped it up a day. So that's fascinating. But yeah, this is coming out. And one thing to keep in mind, this is coming out on Xbox PC Game Pass too. So if you've got Game Pass, if you haven't subscribed to it yet, you can get a cheap, like, they do promos where it's either $3 for 1 month or even one free month. Absolutely give it a shot, just so you can do something like Redfall. I myself decided to keep my my subscription after recently resubbing because I got another free month. I decided to keep it because it's going to be useful to me. You know, this game is, of course, going to be $70 at release. They're pushing that new higher dollar amount launch price, which I remember back when games were like, I want to say the highest you would pay for a brand new game was $50, and I know it was cheaper before, even before that, because my first console, my first gaming system was an Atari 2600. I'm dating myself. I turned 40 this year. Now, granted, I did not have an Atari new. I had a used, but yeah. So definitely check it on that. You know, for the price of 7 months of Games Pass is the cost of Redfall. And there's going to be other games you can play on Games Pass as well. So it may be worth it for you. Check it out. Next one. And this is the big one. I've talked a lot about it. There's been a lot of like, oh no, is this going to be any good? Lord of the Rings Gollum looks fantastic. Some reviewers who've gotten to play it at first, they're like, this seems kind of eh. And then, they're like, later on, they got to play it again. Or some newer ones got to play it, and they're like, oh, this isn't bad. It gets a lot of thoughts like Styx, which is a very popular game I played on stream once. Great stealth game. And Gollum looks to be solid. I'm not going to pay for the Precious Edition, which comes with the Sindarin voiceover, because I don't care that much. I enjoyed Lord of the Rings, the books. I've read them. I legit read them in college. And I have seen the films, not any of the extended cuts or anything like that. No. I don't have that kind of time. Too busy doing stuff like this for you all. But Standard Edition, I'm going to buy. And I'm not pre-purchasing it. I actually don't believe there's even... there is an emotes DLC, which I don't care about. See, this is one of those areas where it's like, is pre-purchasing going to be worth it to you? No, it's not. Not at all. But anyways, this is coming out May 25th. Tail end of the month. But there's one more game that I am super interested in. And we got a bonus game to talk about as well. And that is Miasma Chronicles, which someone was streaming earlier, apparently. This comes out May 23rd. This is turn-based tactical with stealth mechanics as well, and our role-playing mechanics as well. It looks super fantastic, and I'm interested in it. I want to play it. I don't know if I will have the time. I think it's going to, when I play it is going to be very dependent on Gollum and how good it is, and then as well whether Redfall holds up for me and is something I play beyond just reviewing it. Now there's one more. You may see a tab up there that is, or actually no, you won't, because I have my tabs cropped off. I just heard about this game today, and this actually doesn't cover any of the niches I typically play, but I had to talk about it because it's got, this is I grew up with classic sci-fi. I read a lot of pulp sci-fi books as a kid. I still read a lot of great sci-fi. I'm a huge Isaac Asimov fan, and one of the things you'll see here is some of the art direction. If you look at this, like, this is just, what is the term for this? It's atom punk. That's what it is. It's atom punk, which Fallout kind of has that atom punk style, but this is hardcore atom punk. It looks beautiful. It's a survival type thing, storyline. Yeah, look at these robots. I mean, this is all classic, man. Oh, crap, go back here. Like the devices and everything. The art direction alone looks spectacular, and I am just extremely curious about it. And so I thought, you know what, let's talk about that a little bit at the tail end of the stream here. So, yeah, this is The Invincible. Atom Punk. Yep, that's what it's called. And this is on my wish list. It says add to my wish list, but that's because I'm not logged in. I don't typically log in on my browser when browsing Steam. But, yeah, this looks super fascinating, and streamers, major streamers, and publishers have gotten to play it already. Like I said, Wild Buggy, it's fascinating because it's not even in beta state yet. We don't have a release date. We just have this year or sometime. That's all we know. And yeah, I want to play this super bad. I think it's going to be a fun departure, and occasionally I like to do these departure games. One of my favorites that I absolutely think everyone should give a shot is Control. Control is brilliant. Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice, another brilliant game, and God, I cannot wait for the sequel. That is one I will play. Ghost Gamer News will probably go on vacation when that one comes out. Let me tell you this right now. Or I'll be talking about that just to take a break, because that is Hellblade was a brilliant game. It still is. They've actually done a remastering that looks beautiful, and you should definitely play it. It's not a long game at all. But yeah, it's gorgeous and incredibly detailed, beautiful story, and fun and immersive. And content warning, of course, as I talked about earlier. Some of you may find the themes around mental illness a little disturbing. But yeah, otherwise it's a great game. So that is the first Inside the Shadows tentative title. That's why there's the question mark on the stream poster. First Inside the Shadows stream. I apologize for the stream hiccups. I know that killed some of you watching the stream early on. But next time I'll make sure to restart my router before we start the live stream. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to check out Ghost Gamer News. If you enjoyed the stream and want to see more, or want me to talk about other things, let me know. Leave a comment on the stream recording. Hit up ghostgamer.news. I will probably publish some an aftermath what we talked about article hopefully tomorrow, time permitting. Because I'm hoping to actually go see a movie in the theaters for the first time in forever. I want to go see the new John Wick movie, because of course I do. Well, I really want to see a Sisu, but that's not playing in theaters around here, unfortunately. But I want to see both. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you're all having a great weekend. And if you're watching this and it's not the weekend, I hope whatever weekend you just had was fantastic, or whatever upcoming weekend you've got is going to be fantastic. Hopefully things will improve for the next stream. Quality wise, we'll get better lighting and everything else set up, better equipment arranged here. I'll not be using my expensive studio mic and a jank setup, and will instead be using my regular Blue Yeti for my streaming in a better mount, since I'll be doing these from my office. But that's it. That's the end of the stream. Those of you watching after the fact, thank you. For those of you who tuned in during, thank you again. I appreciate you all, and you are fantastic. You all take it easy and stay safe.